Oh. Oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. We are experiencing morning 275 of exploring Bhagavad Gita. And a regular teaching from this divine song is to act not for fulfillment, rather out of fulfillment. Pujya Swami Tejo Mayananda has given the example of when you see beauty in nature, a sunrise, a waterfall, it is quite natural for one to share that with others. Come see this perspective. You should visit this city. That's acting out of fulfillment. You're not trying to own that sunrise, that waterfall. We do this. We do this with TV shows. One should watch Ted Lasso. We do this with restaurants. You should eat at this farm-to-table restaurant. The messaging is to expand all we do to come from a place of fulfillment. A practice to nurture this is to pray for others. One of our team members, whom you all know, Soumya, her father is in the hospital. Let us pray for his welfare, for her welfare, for everyone's welfare. Sahana Bhavatu. May we all be safe. Our Varna expresses as guna, which expresses as karma. Our inclination expresses as intention, which expresses as implementation. In verses 16 and 17, Sri Krishna, as if poses a question about karma, so that we're reflecting on our karma is determined by our guna. In verses 18 and 19, Sri Krishna is guiding us to understand and appreciate how powerful our guna is, or intention. This is what's going to change our varna. From being more self-only, to being selfish, to being selfless. When this evolution is complete, we go from varna to avarna. Varna means personality. Vivek's sense of individuality, to avarna, which means presence, infinity. The word I have been using over the past verses is being. Being. I want you to think about what facets of the multiverse are being. Is it the weather? Is it politics? Is it your skin cells? The only facets of this multiverse that are being, our existence, awareness. And yesterday I highlighted joy. When we are joyous, what do we want to do? Nothing. We just want to be that joy. These are the only facets. In chapter 2, this was described as vastness. In chapter 3, presence. In chapter 4, being. The same message is being offered again and again and again, because this is the only message. When you are happiness, it doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have. Happiness. Those who are being, it does not matter what's happening externally. Their karma, their guna, their varna, they are being. They're called pandits or pandita. The word pandit comes from the etymology pand, which means to collect. Some pandits do collect gold watches, etc. The pandit that's referred to here is the one who's collecting contentment. This is the profession we should engage in, not to collect gold watches, but to collect contentment. We can all be pandits, whether that describes you or not. PT Vivek, Pandit Vivek. And the last sentiment I shared yesterday was in terms of validation. The only ones we should depend on for validation are those who are being, those who are happiness, because that's what's most important. If you try to validate yourself with another who's doing, who's externally happy, that is a losing strategy. You will feel like a loser. I mean that very practically and not in a harsh way. Which is why I continuously remind everyone, our reference should be www. What would the wise do, or what would the wise say about my guna, my intention? Shri Krishna continues with the thought of being, presence, vastness. In verse 19, Jnana Agni Dagda Karmanam. Their being while doing, this is clarified more. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashayaha karmanya pravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. The first quarter, this is not new to you. Tyaktva means to renounce, to not depend on. What? Karma phala sangam. This need, this want for the fruits of one's actions. Simply put, results. This is not new. We've explored this in chapter 2, chapter 3. In summary, it is to let go of this sense of deservership. How to do this practically? Like what you do. If you like what you do, you will not be attached or dependent on what comes from that doing. Isn't that closer to being? Like what you do. How will I like what I do? When what I'm doing is important. When you're engaged in that which is not important, you don't like to do it. You may like it for the short term, but not for the long term. So what is important? development. Your self-development is most important. And if you're tuned into this, you will like what you do. You will let go of deservership. Next quarter, Nitya Triptaha Nirashrayaha. Triptaha means to be content. When? Because we're infatuated with time. Nitya, perpetually content. This manifests in our lives. To be joyous, what precedes that? To be virtuous. If you want Nitya Tripta to describe you, the one who's ever joyous, what precedes that? The one who is ever virtuous. See the connection between, if I'm engaged in self-development, I will become virtuous and I will be joyous. Nirashrayaha means the one who depends on none. That's another word for independent. How can we practice this? Depend less on that which is changing. Depend less on that which is changing. If you depend on that which is changing, your nature will become dependent. But if you depend on that which changes less, like one's guide, one's map, then that becomes one's nature, independent. Throughout this week, I shared live like, not me, not who's next to you, but Sri Krishna. The most responsibilities, but he also has the biggest smile. Third quarter, karmanyabhi pravritto api. Even though one is engaged in karma. The implication here is they're doing all that we're doing, but they're doing this with a very different intention. Out of fulfillment, not for fulfillment. Highlighting this word, and it's in your books too, abhipravrittaha means to be engaged. It does not share to be busy. How many times a day do you hear or read or say or think busy? You're busy, I'm busy, society is busy, we've been busier than ever. What is the difference between being busy and being engaged? Clarity of what is valuable. For those who are busy, what's valuable to them? Doing. For those who are engaged, what's valuable to them? That which is leading to being, reflecting more, observing more. What's valuable to them is quietude, stillness. So even though their karma is dynamic, but they're not getting lost in their inner world. Are you all clear about this? We should feel ashamed, and I mean this in a productive way, when we feel we are busy. That means we've lost what is valuable. And now, a very powerful last quarter. This is a seed for chapter 5. Chapter 4, deservership. Chapter 5, doership. Na eva kinchit karoti saha. The one who is being, they never feel like they're doing. They always feel like they're doing nothing. Na eva kinchit karoti. Now this is tough for us to internalize. Some practical ways to build up to this sense of being. This last quarter is teaching us to be humble. That if you're not being, but you're doing, while you're doing, to have a sense of humility. That too is tough for us. In a world where you're supposed to assert yourself, that I'm different than you, which means I'm better than you. How do I practice humility? Give credit to others. As credit flows into your life, you look up and give it to the divine. You look around and give it to the people around you. That will nurture humility, which will nurture being. In chapter 5, verses 8 and 9, I'm going to elaborate on this seed. Those are two of the best verses in Bhagavad Gita, 5:8 and 5:9. And this is so lovely. We have so much to look forward to. We're only in chapter 4, 14 more chapters to go. Some of you have the wrong perspective. 14 more chapters to go. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to be conscious that we have completed 9 weeks of exploring Bhagavad Gita just in this semester. Right now, my crew is on its way to Niagara. Half are here, half are on their way here. And every year we have a Vichara retreat. It is a retreat to debrief on the past and pre-brief on the future. And the question that always comes to our analysis is, do we want to focus on quantity or quality? And we always make the resolution to focus on quality. How lovely that we've explored really just one chapter in 9 weeks. Sometimes in a discourse series, they'll go through Bhagavad Gita 9 days. Your application for this morning, really this weekend. Chapter 2, verse 9, Prince Arjuna is described as Tushnim Babhuva Ha, which means Prince Arjuna became silent. But he became silent out of sadness, not out of happiness. Clear? The Tushnim Bhava that is being described with the person who is being, they're also silent. I don't do anything, but that's coming from happiness. So your application is, I want you to listen to an entire song. You choose the song. But at any point, if your inner world becomes not silent, you have to try again. You have to listen to an entire song being completely silent in your inner world. If you, at even one moment, think of the future or describe that song, you have to try again. Let's see if you can listen to one song by the time we connect on Monday. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.